All right. All right, gentlemen. Give me a 5 by 5 in the chat if you can hear me, please. Again, this is a supporter stream, but it's open to the general public due to the holidays being a very, very lonely time and hopeless time for a lot of men out there. Uh, it's just the nature of the beast that we happen to be dealing with. So to my regular supporters, we'll be going back to the standard model next Sunday, where it's just paid memberships only. Uh, I'm sorry, guys, but the greater good, kind of is at hand here, and the reason why I opened this up to the public. So it is what it is. All right, now for those of you that don't know, the Redonkulous Regiment is basically a group of men. There's a couple women in there, I believe, that are, I believe, men's rights activists from the Honey Badgers and what have you. I begrudge them nothing. Sometimes, the truth needs to come from, you know, in current year from women because they don't listen to men, but it is what it is. But if you haven't been paying attention to the news, the suicide rate for veterans and in the military is at all time high. I've literally sat by and watched our government spend billions upon billions of dollars to employ shrinks and counselors and people who man these 1-800 don't self delete yourself numbers. And they've literally done nothing. There has been no impact in those numbers whatsoever. And I'm just an old infantry grunt, who's been broken on the wheel of reality and pain more times than I care to count. Who's been there, done that. I've almost surrendered my life at least 8 times in the service of this country, and a couple other times being a dumbass. And luckily, the man upstairs saw fit to make sure I continue to suck air and stay on the north side of the grass. Now, with that being said, let's go through and see what we got going on here in the chat. We got a bunch of 5 by 5s here. We got Susie McCarley in the house. All right. Okay. All right. Every now and again, I'll get people popping in here who have issue numbers too in the past. And what I mean by issue numbers is you had to basically tell me in some form or fashion that the work I'm doing kept the gun out of your mouth, and I usually will issue you a number. Now, to my shame, I didn't take this as seriously as I should have until I got in the 200s. Now we're up to 554 men who have come forward and credited this channel with keeping them on the proper side of the lawn. I'm sure that number's more because there's a pride factor. A lot of men out there will never admit it, and that's fine. I begrudge you nothing. That's cool. And I have to give a thanks out to Major Lance Waldorf, who was the former commander of mine, who basically took the final option in the Holly National Cemetery and virtually did almost the identical thing I was planning to do just a few days, after. And it totally changed my life. And part of the work I do here is basically a debt of honor to him because he literally took the bullet that was meant for me. All right, now today we're going to be talking about Ranger School. I know everyone loves Ranger School stories, and I went to Ranger School in 1990, and I was in Ranger School for 4 months and 15 days. That's with one recycle. I recycled Desert Phase, and then there was a space between those two phases where you're basically a slave. We'll get into that. It's hilarious, but it's all true. And I'm going to be talking about a Ranger School that doesn't exist anymore. In fact, the kinder, gentler Army would probably do cheetah flips with how we in that class were treated. Now, I was an Alpha company for basically the first four phases, which is bending phase. I believe it was mountain phase, then jungle phase, which is Florida, and then desert phase. And then I did desert phase again in Charlie Company, which thank God, because it was a nightmare. And in fact, Ranger School, I believe it was Alpha Company, shocker. In 1994, they had a bunch of Rangers die in Florida phase due to a change in the weather, and people got royally screwed. I talked to a couple RIs who were there on the ground who basically got blamed for it. Shocker. They're NCOs. That's very common. Officers make the decisions that get people killed, and then they blame it on NCOs and burn their careers to the ground. What are you going to do? That's why the officers we see today have like the whole chest of ribbons. 70-80% of those ribbons are awarded for either stabbing a back, kissing an ass, or skull fucking somebody somewhere along the way. So if you're an officer watching this channel, I feel sorry for you. I'm not lying, especially if you're retired. There's all kinds of retired officers who send me emails or DMs, let me know that, what I say is not a lie. And they had to go along with the program to get along. And that's a shame. It's called integrity. I was kind of hoping you guys would have it, but unfortunately, even the ring knockers are sorely lacking. Let's check some of these comments here real quick. All right, we're up to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. I did Ranger School by correspondence. Yeah. Jeffrey Swaney. Ranger School was the worst days of my life. All right. Ranger School. Let's pull this up real quick. Present, share screen, boom, bang. This is my Ranger School graduating class. All right. I graduated on September 11th, 1990. And if you look here, the mouse right here, I am this concentration camp victim right here. That's me. I weighed 136, 138 pounds when this was taken. And this is a combination of Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie Company who graduated on this particular date. Now, to give this into context, these are full, when they started, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie were full companies of Rangers, meaning somewhere between 100 and 120 students per company. So this is about, these three companies had about 400 guys in it, or 380, round up to 400. And this is all that remained, this one picture. And even one or two of these guys got basically screwed over and not allowed to graduate for stupid bullshit reasons, which, in my opinion, need not have happened. So there we go. All right. So there's the picture. I actually went to that goddamn school, including the regimental pre-ranger, which was basically almost a carbon copy of RIP. And why it was allowed to be so fucked up, I have no idea. So we're talking about 5 months out of my life where it was just one long, grueling suffer session. And I'm not bitching about it. It just is what it is. I volunteered to go to the Ranger Battalion. I literally, pulled all kinds of crazy strings, and somehow fate decided to give me what I was standing in line for, which was Ranger School. Now, keep in mind, I'd already jumped into Panama in '89. So when I went to Ranger School, I wasn't even fully recovered from my wounds in Panama, which was a partially dislocated right hip, torn tendons in my right knee, third degree sprained ankle, partially separated right shoulder, and fucked up, basically my whole right side where I got hit by the truck on the drop zone of Panama was still sore, not fully healed, but time waits on no man, and I needed to get it done. I had already was supposed to go to Ranger School, I believe 60. I had a date to go to Ranger School in March of '90, but I got basically swapped out for a later date because I was healing. All right, now healing up in the Ranger Battalion is not the same as healing up in a standard unit. Meaning, um, I still had to do everything everyone else did. I just didn't have to do it quite as fast until I got back up to speed. So the running, the road marching, all of that shit, I still did it all. Fortunately for me, now, I not one to tell anyone to what they can and cannot do with their bodies. I myself have always been a weightlifter. Um, I've been very athletic my entire life, and you know, I've used a lot of supplements. All of them I bought above the board. But when I was in the Ranger Battalion, after I got wounded, there was an edict from above that if you were on profile or expected to be on profile for more than 6 months, you were going to get basically sent to Lakeland to heal. Most people who get sent to Lakeland never return. I had just come from Lakeland, and I was not going to go back. And luckily for me, we had a couple medics who were basically members of the Green Beret Express and put me on a regiment. I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks of a supplement or a drug called equipoise, which is a steroid they give to racehorses. That's the only time in my life that I've ever been subjected to anything like that. And I'm going to be honest, it worked like a fucking charm. I healed me right up. Did I get super strong? No, I did not. Um, Basically, before I went to Ranger School, my max bench press was right around 280 pounds. Even after they put me on the stuff to make me heal faster, didn't really improve my strength, which is cool. So, you know, while you're in the Ranger battalion, you're always quizzed on the Ranger handbook and the paragraphs of the op order, the paragraphs of the warning order. I've done hundreds of patrols, raid, ambush, recon. We've done attacks, the long range crazy movements. We in the Ranger battalion, we did do deployments all over the world before Panama, getting ready for it. So, we went down to jungle warfare school in Panama. Let's see, Europe. We did some stuff in Germany. That was basically, they have a big combined arm exercise that they used to do there. And I participated in that with my sniper section. We went to Puerto Rico, all over the country, getting ready, I mean, when you're in the Ranger battalion, if you are on QRF1, you're literally locked and cocked and packed, ready to be on a battlefield in 36 hours or less. So the tempo was very high operating tempo, because they knew Panama was going to go down probably 18 to 24 months prior to it happening. I just happened to show up at the right time. So I get boxed up. I get my orders to go to Pre-Ranger, which is at Fort Benning, and it's in the exact same barracks that we had RIP. All right. So a lot of the same bullshit happened. When I was down in Pre-Ranger, there was a RIP class there, and they literally would wake those guys up with grenade simulators, just like they did when I went to RIP. And then at the same time, we were literally like one or two buildings down. They did the same shit to us. We were living these World War II barracks that were, thrown up. I think they were glider infantry, and they were slated to be torn down. And I believe we were the last ones to use them. In fact, I believe when I finished Ranger School 4 months later, they were actually tearing those buildings down. Now, in regards to those barracks, I don't believe they're there now. They're gone, long gone. But I remember when I finished Ranger School, you have your graduating ceremony, and then I was down at Benning for like 3 or 4 days until I could fly back to Fort Lewis. And, I was with a couple guys from my class, and we were driving down to the Gray Army Airfield. I believe that's what it was called. The name escapes me. And there was a bunch of old motherfuckers, hanging out like at the roadside. There was like somewhere around 50, 60 guys, maybe more. There was a lot of dudes. And most of these guys were drafted during World War II, volunteered for the airborne, and they built those barracks. They built them. And it's back in the day, the Army would throw all of the materials together in bundles. It's kind of like a Sears Roebuck house. And they send it out, and then, the grunts throw it up, and there's a couple carpenters and professionals that assist. But, I talked to some of these guys, and they're like, well, it ain't right, but, they're tearing it down. I understand. And, well, we put it up, and we're going to fucking tear it down. And there's some old sons of bitches up there doing that. And, I had a huge swell of respect for those motherfuckers. And they came from all over the country to do that. They had crowbars, they had tools. There was some kind of argument going on. there was the MPs were there, but there's just too many people to control, and they just said, "Fuck it, let them go." So those guys, I didn't stay there for the whole thing. I was only there for like an hour, but that's the kind of stuff that it's that unspoken pride that you have or had back in the day. I don't know if the current military has that. I would say that they don't, with the number of people who are walking away from the service. They threw in their retirement papers, what have you. But it is what it is. And listen, I have that same pride for my service. I did everything in my power to leave it better than I found it. So it is what it is. All right, so let's get into this. Let's see what we got going on here. Wow, we are up to 300 people already on YouTube. All right. We've got blankets in the house on Odyssey. Yes, I did hear that Jimmy Carter burned in. It only took 100 years. Yes, I did get the email about the Femo spear, and I am adding it to my list of sources. Thank you, Xanity XX. Let's see what we got on MGTOW TV. All right. Okay, cool. All right. And what do we got on Rumble? All right. Ghosts at Ranger School. I can tell you the Ghost Ranger School story. We'll get to that. Just remind me, that's like a paranormal thing. Now, before we get into this, I'm just going to tell you guys that my memory is not what it used to be. And I went through and I did some brainstorming and I put together the list of stuff I'm going to talk about here. You have to forgive me if I miss anything that I covered in the past, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Okay, I'm pulling stuff across 24 concussions, a blast injury, TBI, and a minor stroke. So, all right, we already talked about the grenade simulator wake up. Now, again, we get assigned to the pre-ranger barracks. I know the deal. I basically I did the same thing I did when I went to RIP. When I went to bed at night, I literally had my full uniform on. I emptied my pockets into my hat, which was on the floor next to me. My boots were right there, ready to go, or my tennis shoes. And back then, I was a very light sleeper. Again, when you hear them pull the activation fuse on a grenade simulator, it makes a very distinct sound. And just like in RIP, I heard him immediately, put my hands over my ears, open my mouth, shut my eyes, let it detonate because it's a blinding flash because it's flash powder in there, not gunpowder. I immediately get up, put on my boots, go out there to formation. Now, the first thing you do when you get there is a PT test. So I went out in full uniform with my boots. They make you do the chin ups and what have you, and then you go back in and you put on your PTs, which we did. And they give you a PT test, and you better score a 275 or higher, or you're going to get, at least back then, they would send you back to your battalion. And they always used the 18 to 21 age group, which back then was the hardest. And I believe a 100 on the run was like 1054. And my run was right around 13 minutes, 13:30 on a bad day, which back in the day, I was considered slow. But I maxed the push-ups, maxed the sit-ups, and I think I got a 78 on the run, so I was good to go. I passed the the chin-ups, and we had a Staff Sergeant Spizo who was running it. I believe he was due to get promoted to E7 shortly. And I'm going to be honest, I hated this man, and I still hate him. Now, I think it was his first pre-ranger course he was in charge of. He was working at RIP when I went through roughly a year prior, and everything was low crawl. I literally spent probably 2 hours a day low crawling around on the ground. Morning, noon, night, didn't matter. On a gravel parking lot, on the road, if we were training during a compass course, which we did, low crawl here, low crawl there. And it was just a hint of the absolute insanity that was coming down the pipe. Now, we did, they make you do the obstacle course, the confidence course, you can call it that. Then we did land navigation, which was stupid. I mean, you do 1 year in the Ranger Battalion, you can navigate pretty much anywhere on foot, which was not a big deal. But yet, you always have those guys who are just land nav challenged. We had some people wash out, which is not a good thing. Basically, if you go to Ranger school from the regiment, you have 3 options: graduate, fail, or die. That's it. And when I left for Ranger school, my platoon sergeant said, come back with your tab or don't come back at all. Got it. No problem. While in pre-Ranger, I believe we did 2 jumps. One was I don't remember the drop zone that they used. It was not the drop zone for airborne school. It was a smaller one. It was farther out. And when I told the story about the water landing where I almost died, this is where it happened. Now, we were not briefed that there was a water hazard nearby. Nobody was given water wings. It was the standard, we're doing this. They go through the bullshit and they show us basically the drop zone. And off the drop zone, about 150 meters, is this tiny little pond. Nowhere on the drop zone was there a body of water. I don't know who the Pathfinder was, who, planned the release point and all that bullshit. We were jumping Crash 10 Charlies, which is very limited ability to steer these parachutes. All right. My stick goes out. I was the first stick. They were going to do 4 passes. Each stick is a pass. Basically, you got I think it was a C-141, so it was a whole bunch of dudes on there. 4 passes, and I was the first one out. I'm trying to remember. I was not in the. I always like to be in like the first 1/3 of the people running out the door. I didn't like to be the last guy, and I didn't like to be the first guy. I hated jumping. I was just one of the guys just running out the door like a cow. I go out, chute opens. I'm really close to another guy. I slip away, which is always slip to your right. Now, I slip to the right, and that literally puts me on track for that fucking pond. I see it out there. I'm like, I'm fine, but I'm not descending as fast as the other people for whatever reason. Maybe I had a thermal. I don't know. but I'm watching everyone I jumped with, they're like 200 or 300 feet behind me, and I'm still like, I'm coming down, but I'm not coming down fast, and I'm going towards this fucking pond. And I'm doing everything. I'm doing one riser slips. I'm fucking. I just couldn't. I could not stop myself from landing in that fucking water. So I'm like, okay, here we go. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna land in that water. Should I cut my shit away? And I'm like, no, because I'll get fucked up 3 ways to Sunday. But you go through your water landing drills, which by this time I've done so many times it's second nature. Coming down, lower the rucksack. I don't cut it away. Lower the weapon, undo all my stuff. And just as I hit the water, boom, and I try to slip out, which was partially successful. Now I'm in BDUs and boots. I don't know how deep this water is. It was probably deeper than 8 feet because I don't remember hitting the bottom at all. Land in the pond, parachute lands on top of me, and I am literally trying to fish my way out of the paracord and the silk. And luckily, I get up from underneath it, grab the loop at the top of the parachute, side stroke to the side of the pond, which was maybe 25, 30 meters tops. It was not a big pond. And then I fucking pull all my shit out of the water, all my equipment, and I literally have it on a pile right there. And I'm trying to wring the shit out. Now, luckily, I didn't have to carry all of that waterlogged shit to the chute, collection point, because the cadre had saw what happened, and by the time I was out of the water and I had everything piled up on the side, they show up in their vehicles, and of course, I'm at fault, and I have to low crawl around. So I low crawl around for about 30 minutes. They do some grass drills, which is extremely unpleasant in Fort Benning because there's red ants everywhere. And other than that, I didn't get in any trouble because I didn't lose my equipment and I didn't die. So, you know, I'm sure if they would have made a big deal out of it, somebody would have said, well, if there was a possibility of somebody landing in that pond, then nobody had water wings at. Who did the risk assessment? And then people would get screwed up. So they toned the whole thing down. So that was that. And then we did one night jump, which we had 2 casualties. Now, I don't care what they tell you, okay? I've heard it all. Oh, it'll be fine. It's just a night drop. It's a Hollywood. There's no equipment. Don't worry about it. Just, do what you got to do. All right. Anytime you step out of an aircraft between 800 and 1,200 feet, which is training jump altitude, and it's dark, your chances of getting fucked up go up astronomically. And, pre-ranger, they're letting us get sleep at night. They're not really, taking away our meals or anything like that. But they're like, okay, they announce it tomorrow night. We're doing a night jump. And I always, after the Panama invasion jump, every time I had to jump after that, my stomach always did flip-flops. And I absolutely hated it. But it is what it is. We go down there and they issue, I think it was Green Ranch. No. I'm trying to remember the name of the area that's on Gray Army Airfield where you go there, they give you your chutes and everything. You load up on the birds. There was a crash that happened on Fort Benning, and some guys I know got cooked up by the jet fuel. Just I don't remember the name. We do the pre-jump stupid bull crap you always do. We get the risk assessment. They put us in the bird, and it was very questionable weather. We had some rain during the day. There was some winds, but once you're in the bird and the bird takes off, it becomes a game of who is going to quit first. Meaning, if the Air Force calls the jump and says it's a no go, they have to pay for everything. If the Army says no, it's too dangerous, then we have to pay for everything. That's how the budget things work. And it was literally like a sick game of wills. And it really boiled down to fuck it, we're jumping. And I remember, again, I'm like in the first 1/3, C-141, the air brake goes out. It always makes this weird sound when that happens. And the green light goes, I jump out. My experience, not that bad. Chute opens. There is some wind. Doesn't appear to be too bad. And when it's dark out, you really don't know how fast you're really cooking. So I always, would always, before I got close to the ground, because you lower your rucksack and you hear it hit, and then I would always slip in the opposite direction. The landing was medium hard, not too bad. But when we had one guy with a very bad sprained ankle and another dude with a broken leg, which, happened a lot, especially night drops. So 2 guys out of the fucking running right there. The guy with the broken leg, I think he had to get out of the service like 18 months later because never healed properly. The guy with the sprained ankle, I think he recovered and then went to Ranger School like 4 or 5 months after I returned. But I mean that's just the way it goes, man. And they screw with you too. Like I got my wall locker dumped twice. I had like a combination lock, but it wasn't one with the dial. It was one with the you can set the combination, and I set it to my birth year, which was 1968. Well, one of the instructors, I don't remember his last name, like Cornelius or something like that. Well, he would go up to the head shed, and he would get like the list of everyone in the class, and he would go in to our barracks and literally try to pick people's locks just to fuck with them. And he got to mine and said, "Oh, birthday 19, 4 digits. I bet you it's his birthday." Voila, wall locker dumped. And this guy waited until I think we were doing a 6-mile road march. So this was taking place while I was not even there. So we come back from the 6-mile road march. They release us to go to the barracks. And literally he's hanging out the window and he's got like my one big bucket of protein powder. And he's like, "Hey, Pop," poof. And I'm just like, someday I'm going to kill that man. But listen, man, that's just the kind of assholes that were there. And I can't really say there was a lot of training value in the pre-ranger that I went to. It was more like they were guarding the tab to keep you from making it, I think. I don't know. And then we'd have the classrooms. We'd go through all of the tactics, stuff we already knew. It's all in the Ranger handbook. And by the time you go to Ranger school, you've been in the battalion for a minimum of a year. And your team leader and your squad leader and your platoon sergeant pretty much make sure you are up to speed on all of that. So it's pretty boring. And we're not really getting a lot of sleep, and we're doing a lot of PT, and young men get tired, especially in those old World War II barracks, which were very hot. And if you were sleeping, a lot of times they'd make you stand up at the back of the classroom and hold a cinder block over your head with a K pot on. You'd be like, and that went on all the time. And if too many people fell asleep, then they ran us down the stairs and they made us do grass drills for about 20 to 30 minutes, then go back up and finish. And that was pre Ranger. And there was no, like, when pre Ranger ended, we literally got into a cattle car with all of our shit, and they immediately drove us to Ranger School where we in process there. So I'd already done 21 days of low crawling and, getting punished and doing all kinds of crazy shit and dealing with fucking attitude to Ranger School. So literally, they tortured us to prepare us for the torture of Ranger School. And again, we show up. Everyone's in these big long lines. We get mixed in with everyone else. So they don't keep us together. And we do the chin ups and we do the PT test. Now, what I did see there, and this is amazing, this one dude failed the PT test. And I don't know what God he was praying to or who he knew, but they allowed him to do an immediate retest, which he did, and he passed. I have no explanation. He literally did 2 PT tests back to back. He failed one by like 11 points, and then he passed by like 4. Now, granted, I don't know who this guy was or who he knew. If that would have been me or one of the other lower enlisted schmucks from the regiment, they would have thrown our asses out. That would have been it. So we show up there. We go through the in processing. You got to dump all your equipment. They do a layout. They inspect all your shit. And it was. I've been through this quite a few times. So you lay out your stuff. They go through and they make sure you got everything you're supposed to have. And if you have anything missing, at the end of the day, they cut you loose, like right after chow, like 4:30, 5 o'clock, to go to the PX and make up any shortcomings, which not that big of a deal. We heard all of the craziness. Everyone started talking with each other the minute the cadre aren't around. And Ranger School, people come from all of the different services. We had Air Force there. We had quite a few Marines. We had Navy guys there. They were either UDT or SEALs. They're always doing the secret shit. Well, I can't tell you. Whatever. And then you had guys, from the Army. And surprisingly, there really wasn't a bunch of people, at least in my class, from the Ranger Regiment. I think there was like 45 of us. There would have been 50, but we had some guys get injured and what have you. And that's, for a 400 man, 3 company class, 35, 45 guys is not that many guys. So, that's the way it played out. Now, just like in pre-Ranger, we go out in pre-Ranger, we did like 3 or 4 days of patrolling. And most of the time we were running from indirect fire, carrying people who were injured and wounded, supposedly dealing with NBC attacks. Little did I know when I got assigned to Alpha Company That was their standard operating procedure. These guys in Alpha Company didn't give a shit if you passed or failed. They had absolutely no motivation to teach you anything. From what I saw from the very beginning, it was nothing but a suffer session in slow motion. Royally sucked 3 ways to Sunday. All right, so we do the bending phase, and I got my first go right out of the bat, which I think I was fortunate. I was fresh. I was, it was second nature to me. I was an acting, I think I was the squad leader, and we did, I believe that was a reconnaissance, so not a big deal. I had done that so many times when I was in the Ranger Battalion, because I was a sniper, so that was no big deal. We got that knocked out. I got a second one, which I got a no-go on. Now, again, there's no training value. They just, when you go there and you get graded by your ranger instructor. Now, technically, they have a book to go through, and there's steps that they go through, and they're supposed to tell you what you did right and what you did wrong. And if you got more shit right than you did wrong, you got to go. I remember I got a no-go, and I'm like, what did I fail? And literally, the book was empty. He literally told me to fuck off and get the fuck out of his face. And I'm just like, okay, there's absolutely no feedback here. This is going to be it's going to be fucked up. And it is what it is. Again, in the field, every day, there was 1 to 3 NBC attacks and usually 1 to 2 indirect fire attacks where people were wounded and or killed. And you had to carry their bodies to the objective and back from the objective. Again, where's the training value? That it's a suffer session. You're literally, and if you think you're getting over, if you're the casualty who's got to be carried, think again. Because that happened to me, I believe, 2 or 3 times where I was the casualty and had to be carried. And literally, it's more like you're getting dragged, and you're lucky if your arms aren't pulled out of socket while you're being dragged around. It is not a good time for anyone. Now, mind you, this happened in bending phase, mountain phase, Florida phase, and they really turned it up in desert phase. It was even worse. All right, so, all right, effects. All right, now I was towards the end of the bending phase. You're starting to feel the effects of starvation. I mean, that's just how it is. And during the bending phase, when one of the very few times you're allowed to eat in a chow hall, I literally, we get up to the door, and I'm asking the rules. I'm like, so on this side of the line I can eat, but on this side of the line I can't. They're like, yeah. And I go, can I be chewing my food when I step across this line to leave? They're like, of course. I'm like, okay. And I went through, got my food, sat down. I had literally like 2.5 minutes to eat before they're like, you're done, get out. And I'm like, okay. Well, next time I hit this chow hall, I'm gonna have a fucking system. So a couple days later, we go to the chow hall. I think it was lunch, maybe dinner, I don't remember. I walk in, grab a tray, I grab a spoon. I don't even take a plate. We're beyond that. That's just too time consuming. In my right cargo pocket, I have my 1 quart canteen with the top already undone, and it's about 80% full. Get up to the chow line. I'll take that. They're like, you don't have a plate. Just put it on the tray. And literally, I'm like, that. And as soon as they hit the tray, I am shoveling it in with that fucking spoon, and I'm washing it down with the canteen. And I'm literally, by the time I get to the end of the chow line, I have 60% of my food already stuffed down my face. And they also had a salad bar. And of course, I'm going to partake in the salad bar. Again, walk through there. Just start shoveling shit onto the fucking tray. Dip my spoon in this peanut butter, heaping calorie filled, glorious peanut butter. Washing it down, eating it. By the time I sit down, there's almost nothing left on that tray. In fact, after that, on a couple of occasions, ranger instructors would come in on their day off to watch me in the system I had of rehydrating and refilling the fuel tank in 5 minutes or less. And as I got better at it, I would literally get to my seat after the salad bar, be almost done. Then I would go get 2 or 3 extra milks until I ran out of time. And they said, you're done. And then I would go, and they'd have those cabinets on wheels where you put your trays. I'd literally walk up there and put in there. And if there was anything that I could stuff in my mouth before I stepped out of the chow hall, I did it. Usually it was cake. I ate the shit out of that, and my mouth would be just full of food, and I'd step across the line. And there was several occasions where the RIs were hysterically laughing at how well I had managed. And I used the same system in throughout the rest of Ranger School, throughout all of the phases, to include Mountain Phase, which arguably has a better chow hall, at least back then. Uh, Mainly because you're starving to death, maybe, but they used to have like different types of pancakes, like strawberry, blueberry, banana pancakes, banana walnut pancakes. You didn't get those at the standard other chow halls. That was like a Mountain Phase specific kind of thing. Let's check some comments real quick. Man, I've already been running my hole for a whole hour. It just seemed like it just started. You guys like the Ranger School stories? Uh, we all wrecked that cake. Yes, we did. Yes, I have got a chance to use flash grenades. In fact, I was able to get my hands on some via the Green Beret Express. They're called grenade simulators, and I used to bomb my family on the 4th of July and New Year's Eve. It was quite pleasant. Let's see. Dumpster diver pop. Yep. Yeah, there was some of that. Yeah. Can never get enough calories in infantry school. It's all about, yes, it is. In fact, when you get that hungry, right? Flavor's no longer a thing. You're looking at it going, that's got a lot of calories, and I'm going to eat that. And I don't give a fuck what it tastes like. I'm eating that shit. And that's just the way it went. Let's see what we got here. Wow, we almost got 500 people. Oh, we got a super chat from Joe. Merry Christmas. Here's to better days or a better year. Thank you, Joe. 50 bucks, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Every little bit helps, man. All right, you guys like the stories. All right, let's see what we got here. So, okay, that was so we get done with the bending phase, and you get they put you on an 8 hour break. Let's like it's more like a 6 hour break. They say it's 8 hours. You get done with the phase. They give you like 6 to 8 hours to go on the town to get your hair cut, get your laundry done, to pay bills, take care of shit. I don't think they do that anymore. Mainly because like people are so exhausted they fucking die. You're not allowed to drive. You're not allowed to do a lot of shit. Can't consume alcohol, which didn't happen. But this is my first Ranger School break. We're in the mall on post, and everyone's doing their food fantasy. Mine was Anthony's Pizza at this time, and chocolate fudge shakes from 31 flavors. And I don't know how I managed to eat all that, but I remember I put down 3 pieces of that. Those are big slices. Back in the day, it used to be really good. Now it's shit. And then I had one of the a large chocolate fudge shake, and I was like part way into the second one. Of course, you're going into food coma and you haven't slept, so you're like, So I'd have to stand up, and everyone else was doing their other food fantasy. Like one guy wanted a bucket of chicken. Another food fantasy. Uh, we went to McDonald's, and literally, I witnessed this. He steps up to the counter, and he's like, "I would like one of everything on the left panel, a tray of fries, 2 large Cokes." And they're like, "Oh yeah, get out of here!" He pulls out like $50. He's like, "I'm totally serious." Watch this dude stuff that poison in his gullet. And then he went into a food coma, and we had to literally like carry him because he was like, semi-conscious from the amount of fucking shit he just ate. And we carried him to the barber where we all got fresh high and tights, and then we dropped off our clothes, which you paid a service. They got it done in like 90 minutes or less, and then you went back to Ranger School. Now that's pretty much how it went for the rest of Ranger School, except for the Ranger School break after Florida phase. Again, back to Fort Benning, 8 hour break. We're doing the food thing, except this time I was eating like a quart or like was a half gallon of 30 Breyer's chocolate chip mint ice cream, and I believe it was still pizza. I mean, I love pizza and ice cream. That's probably why I'm not going to live to be 90. But one of the guys that's in my class is an MP at Fort Benning. And he's like, "Hey, Pop, I got a guy. He's selling a Sig Sauer 226." And I'm like, "I'm in fucking Ranger School, man." He goes, "Well, it's a sweet deal. It was the pistol and 2 magazines back then for, I think it was $300. I bought it." So literally, from Florida phase on, I had a Sig Sauer 226 pistol I had to keep hidden, which luckily for me, I was successful. I have no idea what I was thinking. I just loved that pistol, and I wanted it, so I took the risk. And luckily, when because every now and again, like, "All right, everybody, line up, jump your shit right now." Luckily, when that happened, it was dark, so I dumped the shit, and literally, I just kicked the pistol under, some uniforms. They're not digging through your stuff. They just walk through there, and if anything jumps out at them, then of course, then. But usually, it's just to fuck with you. Luckily for me, and I made it all the way through. And I remember putting that pistol in my duffel bag and checking it in and flying back to Fort Lewis. I didn't declare it. Nothing. Unfortunately, that one has been lost in a tragic boating accident. But yeah, I love the P226. That is one hell of a good pistol. And I have no idea why the Army didn't take it, other than the fact that some incompetent officer somewhere probably got paid off to, bring that into the inventory. The Beretta 92F, which stands for 92 fucked. Always hated that pistol. All right. All right. Again, now this is we're coming back from Florida, and they put us on these buses, and I get put in charge. Actually, I was the administrative first sergeant because I was from the Ranger Battalion, and I guess that's what they did. So we're on this bus. We're like 90 minutes in to driving back to Fort Benning, and the shitter is already full because everyone, including myself, in Florida phase had dysentery on and off for the entire fucking thing. And the bus breaks down, and we're literally 200 meters from a gas station, Quickie Mart thing, and I'm supposed to keep all these guys on the bus. It's not going to happen. I'm literally like, no, we can't get off the bus. And they're like, Pop, we're going in there to get food, and either you get out of the way or we're going to fucking trample you. There's nothing I could do. They all go in there. They all just get fucking stupid. Like, literally just bought all kinds of food. We're talking my first girlfriend, Little Debbie's, Hostess. I mean, if it was gut rot, it came off the shelves. And I think they cleaned it out. I was fortunate, before I let anyone back on the bus, I checked their pockets and made sure that none of the contraband made it on the bus because, luckily I did that. We had 2 or 3 garbage cans full of like wrappers and just crazy shit. We, tied it up and threw it in the dumpster behind the Quickie Mart gas station. And, our eyes roll up. It took them like 2 hours to get there. Like, what the fuck's going on? And we're like, the bus is down. I don't know. And we waited around for another 4 hours for an Army bus to show up. And we threw all our shit in there, fortunately, and we left. And that whole bus stunk to high heaven. It was terrible. I mean, I could not believe the stink that was coming off of us, because we literally just finished Florida phase, and I think we got 4 hours of sleep, and then we got on the bus first thing in the morning, and we were just terrible. We like, my uniform was rotting off of me. I was so fucking filthy. In fact, I think I threw that uniform out. I know I did, because this is not a flattering moment in my career, but again, the dysentery. We all had it on and off because you're drinking swamp water, and Of course, you're using water purification tablets, but all it takes is, one or two amoebas to get past your defenses, and we're off to the shit races. Like, literally, my ass was a fucking water cannon. It was so bad. I had literally cut my pants, so they're only attached like right where under the ball sack and right up where the belt goes in. And we'd be moving through wherever, woods, whatever, forest, swamp, and I would take a couple steps off of the ranger file and just spray shit. And I'd look at the guy behind me like, don't walk there. And I remember this one guy just saw me do this, and he's like, "You're a hard man, Pop. You're a hard man." And we're always crossing water obstacles, so you know, within an hour or 2 hours, you're going across the stream, and you just wash your ass. And that is pretty much Florida phase. It was just horrible. I was so tired and emaciated from dysentery, lack of calories, and just walking your ass off. I could barely dig a hasty fighting position. I had no strength. And I'm just going to tell you, I'm ashamed to admit this, but if they recycled me in Florida phase, I don't think I would have made it. I don't think I could do Florida phase twice. It was that punishing. Like the medics would come out in the morning, and first thing I do is like, I want a bottle of Malox, I want the kaopectate and Pepto-Bismol, and I was drink it all just to keep everything rolling. Now during the Florida phase, I did have to use 26 hours of sick call. Back then you were allowed 72 hours of sick call before you had to recycle or start the phase or start ranger school over from day zero. And I had a laceration on my right leg, lower leg, and it had got infected, and you're starting to see the pink tracks of cellulitis as they're going up your leg. And I did my best to keep it clean, but you're walking through a swamp. This is what it is. And I go to the medic, and I'm like, this is getting out of hand. I roll up my leg. He's like, okay. Fills out this card with a wire on it, attaches it to me, and it just says sick call, IV antibiotics, observation. So I get packed up. They throw me in a pickup truck, roll me back to the aid station, and they put me on a bed and hook up an IV to me, and I'm on intravenous antibiotics. And during that night, they had one guy there who was there for the night shift. It was me and two other rangers. And we're starving to death. Starving. I am emaciated. And I'm like, you know what? I need to eat. Me and these two other rangers, one's watching the door, and we start scouring, looking for something to eat. Luckily for us, the treatment room was connected to a break room, and the lookout could literally crack the door, look down the hallway, and then the guy who was, on night shift was watching TV at the end of the hall, which, was 25 meters away. It was a good clip. It would take him a few seconds to get back there. So we find some ramen noodles, which were quite tasty, uncooked. I would just lick them and put the seasoning on them, eat them. Me and the other two guys had that, and then we divvied up 2 sticks of butter between us three, and butter has a lot of calories, so yeah, and we got over it. Next morning they come in, nobody notices anything, it's all good. We disposed of all of the evidence. They check my leg. The cellulitis is no longer there. The pink track is gone. They give me a bunch of bandages and they give me oral antibiotics that I need to take, 3 a day for 7 days. I think it was tetracycline. And I'm back in the field. And I'm gonna tell you, that was uh, that was a good lesson. Like you will literally, if you're starving, you're like I'd never imagined myself eating raw butter, but it was quite tasty. It had like a vanilla flavor to it. And the ramen noodles, uncooked, I still eat them like that today if I'm just too lazy to cook them. It's whatever. It's calories in, calories out. It's just math. And while we're on the getting over with the food thing, we had a guy get bounced out of the course in Benning phase. And he was actually an armorer at the Florida phase. So we show up at Florida phase, and I'm walking through, and I recognize him, and I'm like, hey. And he's like, what's up, Pop? I go, hey, man, I slipped you some cash. Can you get us some food? He's like, what do you want? I go, any candy from the PX would be fine. He's like, got you covered. So he manages to slip me and like 5 or 6 other guys that were in my squad. Like, I think it was 3 or 4 candy bars apiece. And you can't get caught with that. And the longer you have it in your possession, the greater the chance you're going to get busted because people are narcs. It's just not cool. We go out to the field the very next day, and the first chance I get, I eat all 3. I ate all the, was it 4 candy bars? It was like 1 Milky Way, a Snickers, and 2 other ones. I don't remember what they were. Buried the wrappers. Now, my body was not used to this. Right? You're used to starving. And all of a sudden, boom, you get like this huge calorie intake, sugar, what have you. It literally felt like I was high on morphine, like I was under anesthesia. I was like all dizzy. I wasn't sick or anything, but I was like, whoa. People are like, you all right? I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. That was great. That's how Florida phase started. And we're in the field almost immediately. Again, casualties, NBC attacks, everyone's getting a no-go. I believe I got 1 go and 1 no-go in Florida phase. So I was 2-2. Yeah, I was 2-2. No, I was 2-3. I was in the hole. I needed 1 more go, and I needed another platoon leader go. And to get out of Ranger School back then, you had to have a minimum of a 50-50 record, meaning if you had 8 patrols, you needed 4 goes, and at a minimum, just to graduate. So I was already in the hole, and I mean the whole Florida phase. Oh my God. Okay, this is another Florida phase situation. This is a night ambush. We get the op order roughly right around noon-ish. It's right when the RIs change over. They tell you we're doing a night ambush, and it's like 11-click movement there and back, and not a big deal. We've done this is like second nature now. Just our ambush. The names changes, the mission never. It's always the same. You change the equipment out for responsibilities. Now on this one, I was far right security. I was with another guy, and I don't remember his name, but he was pretty cool. And we walk our 11 clicks through the swamp, jungle, what have you. Find our ORP. Everyone divvies up. You have your left and right security, rear security, your assault line, and support. I'm far right security. So I am like 200, 250 meters, to the far right of the ambush. There's no RIs near me. I think the entire time we're in position, which was almost 3 hours, didn't see anybody. And off in the distance, maybe a quarter mile or less, there's a light, and I hear these dogs barking, and they're obviously barking at us. And this is like near Eglin Air Force Base, so I don't know what the fuck was going on out there. But I'm curious, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. I tell my ranger buddy, hey, I'm gonna go find out what's going on down there. I walk down there, and there's a trailer. It looks all run down and screwed up. And then there's a dog kennel with like 4 dogs in it, brand new, all fenced in there. There's overhead cover. I mean, the dogs are living better than the people in the trailer. And they're barking, but not any louder than they have been. I guess the guy in the trailer knew the deal because it probably happened all the time. And there's a barrel there with a lid on it, and I open it, and it's full of kibble. I'm like, dog food. And instead of curiosity, I'm like, it's kind of oaky. Take off my hat, boom, fill it up, scurry back to my position. And I'm literally sitting there waiting for the ambush line, eating dog food. And it was good. My ranger buddy's like, Bob, what are you eating? I'm like, dog food. He's like, that's disgusting. Can I have some? So I split it with him. Like, we literally ate like a pretty decent portion of this dry kibble apiece. And I fucked up. I drank a bunch of water. Now, again, didn't think it through. Dog food swells when you get it wet. My stomach was very small. And before you knew it, again, I felt like I was high on morphine. I slurred my speech. I literally probably was walking and talking like a drunk. But we were so fucking tired that almost nobody noticed, except for the guys that knew me personally. And we got away with it. And the next day, man, I had to take one hell of a dog shit. We're talking something as it's about as thick as a Coke can and about 12 to 14 inches long. Had a life of its own. That was a rough one, man, but man, I needed that food. And the final one for the Florida phase, the last operation, it's a Zodiac mission. And you got to get in the boats, and you got to paddle this island and do an assault and capture this one guy. You got to take him alive. I don't know if they use the same scenario today in the new, kinder, gentler army. But we go down there and we go through half a day of classes on the Zodiac, which is just basically you're going to get smoked. They smoke the dog shit out of you, moving these Zodiacs around. It sucked. There's like 4, 8, 9. There's like 9 to 10 of us on each Zodiac. All right, so it's about 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. We get the movement order. We fall in our boats, and we have them in the high carry, and we're moving them to the water. And back then, the RIs used to do this fucking bullshit of literally eating in front of us just to torture us. And they would sit there and eat McDonald's, upwind from you so you could smell it, and just torture the shit out of you, which I did not appreciate. So we're carrying the Zodiac boat when we have to, this one RI parks his fucking pickup truck right there near the boat launch. So we have to fucking move around his truck. And he's sitting there eating at McDonald's, fucking calling us every name in the book because it's not about teaching, it's about punishing us. And as we're walking by his pickup truck, I look down and there's a box of milk bones. Well, you got the life vest on, you know. I'm like, boom, bang. And it wasn't full, it was maybe a third full. And we start paddling towards this island. Now I'm reaching in there and I'm eating these milk bones. And I'm not paddling enough because I'm eating these milk bones. I ate like two or three of them. And I'm just telling you now, the green ones were absolutely terrible. Like the tan ones were good. The orange ones tasted like liver, but they were still okay, especially when you're like hungry like that. But again, they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Pop? What do you got? What are you eating?" And I'm like, "I got milk bones." "That's disgusting. Give me one." So I got the entire boat eating milk bones. And we cannot keep up. We're falling way back, and the RI's got this board. "Y'all better keep up." Because by now it's dark, so they can't see us stuff on our faces. And I went on maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The box was empty. And I soaked it, let it sink. And we Charlie Mike with the mission. And we had to, we ran this guy down who was an RI. Now, this guy, I think it was Tuatave. And he came from, no, it was not him because he was in Desert Phase. It was this big Islander guy. I don't know his name. And he was like 6'2", 6'3", probably 220, 230. And we could not capture this guy. It took like 25 of us before we dogpiled him and were able to flexi cuff him and capture him. Like in a real world scenario, he would have just killed us. We were that weak and emaciated. We were right on the verge of fecklessness. It was that bad. So that's the Florida phase, funnier, crazier stories. But they all revolve around food. So in mountain phase, we had a exchange officer from Hong Kong, spoke broken English, and I don't like they had a tradition back then. No foreign officers were ever kicked out of the course because there's a rumor out there that they had done that, and these officers went back to their home country and were executed, and so it is what it is. And I don't remember this guy's name, but he was an active member of the team, and we would do these raids in the mountain phase, and one of us had this huge fucking mag light, and we would, do the raid. We'd assault across, and we'd come back in looking for intel and prisoners and what have you. And we'd come into the tent. We usually the GP medium on the objective. My buddy would turn on the light to blind everyone, and then you hear this Hong Kong guy, "No one move! I fucking kill you all!" And then I'd immediately go to the trash and rifle through it for all of the parts of the MREs that the Op 4 did not eat, which is usually the bean component, peanut butter, all the shitty stuff. Occasionally there'd be crackers in there, and we rifle through it, come off the objective, divvy it all up between us, and we mix it in with our own MRE stuff, and nobody knew. But yeah, and listen, the amount of fucking food they were feeding us was criminal. We were getting these MRE repacks, Air Force repacks. Now, typically you get an MRE, it's supposed to have 2,200 calories in it, but we get the repacks and like 1,000 calories of it was gone. So you're walking, 10 to 20 miles a day with a grand piano on your back on 1,000 calories or less, if you even got to eat. Because if you were falling behind, you didn't have time to eat. So there were times where you didn't eat for like 2 days. It was terrible. And what made Ranger School really, really difficult is you can quit anytime you want. You just raise your hand and go, hey, I'm done. They walk you to a pickup truck. You're literally, back in the rear within an hour ordering Domino's pizza. So you're starving. You're not sleeping. You're absolutely miserable when you're conscious. And all I could hear 24/7 was quit, 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 quit. And then the other side, no, no, no. And fortunately for me, I said no one more time than I said quit. That was fucking shit. All right. Let me check some comments, man. I've been running my suck hole for almost 90 minutes. How was the chocolate cake? It was the standard sheet cake. It was okay. I wouldn't eat it if I was a civilian, but when you're starving to death, it was awesome. So what you're saying is that dog food shit wouldn't fit in a Pringles can. Correct. It was fucking horrible. JPPW on MGTOW. That's a nice picture there, bro. That is hilarious. Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, gentlemen. Let's see how many we got here. We got 515 on YouTube. And we need some more likes there on YouTube so it'll get shared. I need some more likes on Rumble, gentlemen. Come on, get the likes up so we can get past this goddamn algorithm. And while you're at it, subscribe. The unvarnished army stories. Ooh, bayonet red, chow hall pineapple upside down cake is bomb. Yes. Yes, it is. All right. Where were we? We're just covering Florida face. All right, covered dog food, milk bone. The narcoleptic story. All right. Had an officer, first lieutenant, last name Blair, from the Oregon National Guard, who was in my class. Now, he suffered from narcolepsy. How he wound up in Ranger School, I have no idea. But this guy was hilarious. Now, he did get me a failure on a patrol, which was going swimmingly. I believe it was my second patrol in either Benning phase or one of my first or second ones. I think it was the second one in Florida phase. One of those two, I don't remember. But I was a squad leader. I only had to manage like 9 guys, piece of cake. Everything's going fine. I'm not missing anyone. I got all my equipment. The mission was successful. We're doing a helicopter exfil. I'm literally getting everyone on the fucking helicopter. Blair was pulling security right next to the Black Hawk wheel while it's running. So if you've never been by a helicopter, it is crazy loud. Crazy loud, even through your earplugs. I mean, your ears will still ring through the earplugs. We get in the helicopter, we take off. I'm counting, I'm missing a guy. We land. I got to tell the RIs, I'm like, missing a guy. They're like, oh, yeah, you're missing a guy. Where the fuck you losing? And they start fucking with you. And I'm like, he was there. He was like, I swear he was there right before we took off. So not only am I getting fucked with now, They can't land any more helicopters on that LZ because he might be sleeping on the LZ. Because this does happen from time to time. Later on in the course, it happens more. So I get in the pickup truck with these two RIs. We roll out there, and there's Blair, dead asleep on his weapon. I'm furious. Furious. But there ain't fuck all I could do about it. I can't throttle him because, one, I'd probably get dinged up by the RIs, and two, you get peered out for shit like that. You get mad, put your hands on people, and the rest of the squad are like, hey, he's out of control, he's out. So I had to maintain low tones. That guy pissed me off. Now, he got recycled. He got recycled at the end of Florida phase, and I wound up linking up with him again when I got recycled in desert phase. I caught up to him. So he graduated Ranger School, but he was not. He didn't hide the fact that he was a narcoleptic, but that came with superpowers. Meaning, once it got dark and he started like zoning out, he'd been a narcoleptic his entire life. He could literally walk around unconscious like a robot. So we would tie a rope around him, and he would carry all kinds of shit. Like he would carry, probably an extra 20, 30 pounds of gear, but he's unconscious, so he doesn't even feel it. And we'd be like, come on. And the RIs are like, okay, it's a technique, not the preferred method, but whatever works for you guys. And this guy was hilarious. I hope he's still alive, man. Because after when I caught up with him in desert phase the second time, he was telling these funny stories about how he would never buy newer cars because he would fall asleep behind the wheel, and a couple times he would be driving through a cornfield or an apple orchard. I hope he didn't kill anybody, but yeah, actually had a narcoleptic make it through Ranger School. It's amazing. Teamwork, man. Teamwork. And this is another one that I almost got. This is Florida phase, and I got attached towards the end. Me and this other guy named Wygant, he was from 3rd Bat. We got attached to a whole squad of West Pointers. And these guys, they thought they knew it all. And they're like, well, we're coming towards the end of Florida phase. Like, well, we're going to use this thing called peering the system. So no one gets peered out and everyone averages out. And I'm like, me and Wygant are like, I don't think that's going to work. They're like, that's fine. Then we'll just peer you guys. So you got to play the game. Got it, so I'm like, okay, I fucking follow instructions, peer the system. We get pulled aside. Me and Wygant are like, I just numbered how people numbered. I don't know. And the first West Pointer they talked to, like, yes, we peered the system. So now I'm dinged up for peering the system and lying, which I didn't admit to. And they're like, you're fucking out. We're fucking throwing you out. I'm like, oh, great. So this happened like 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. Next morning, I'm on detail, and I'm empty. And now I'm in uniform, and I have my CIB, my combat patches, my mustard stain. And Lieutenant Colonel walks in, and he's like, he sees me and this guy named Wygant, who's also decked out with all the same shit. He goes, why the fuck are you guys fucking getting, what's going on? So I tell him, I'm like, sir, this is what happened. And he's just like, let me get this straight. A whole squad of West Pointers said, you're going to peer the system or they're going to peer you. He's like, not on my watch. He's like, change back into your shit. They call in their eyes. These two guys, put them back out in the corral, bring in all of those fucking other officers. And all of them got thrown out of the course. That's it. I mean, I got like a major minus. I already had like 14 or 15 major minuses. I collected them. I didn't care. And that's just how it went. But me and Wygant were back in the fucking course. And it was 9 officers. Now, maybe it was 6 of them. I don't remember. But they all got bounced out. I don't know what happened to them, nor do I care. I just wanted to go through the course and mind my own goddamn business. Just is what it is. I just remembered that one, actually. I forgot that story. Constant dysentery, final mission capture, shit yourself story. Already covered that. Swamp water enjoyment. All right. When you run out of water, you don't always have the luxury of getting to a clean water source, nor do you have the luxury of getting the water yourself. Sometimes you have to give your canteens to Schlep Rock the dickbag to go down to whatever water source he could find to fill up. And on several occasions, I'd get my canteen back. I'd put my water purification tablets in there, wait the proper amount of time, and then when I drink the water, realizing it is full of dead mosquito larvae. That is a whole lot of mental gymnastics you have to play with your mind to keep from throwing that water up. And one of the tricks I used to do was imagine it was just rice and I was drinking lemon drop rice soup. Of course, it didn't taste like that. But even to this day, if I'm drinking water and anything is in it, I get nauseous. That's just fucking horrible. Let's see, so we can barely do. Oh, yeah, the falling asleep standing up. This really started happening bad first time through desert phase. All right, now they're supposed to give you 4 hours of sleep before you do an airborne operation. In Alpha Company, that never happened. Never. And we were doing a day. It was a night drop in desert phase. And they give us our parachutes, we're rigged up. And you literally have people falling asleep while walking to the aircraft. All right, they're falling asleep and falling down on their way to the aircraft. That is not safe. Not by any stretch of the imagination. And did we jump? Fuck yeah, we did. Why people did not die, I have no idea. Maybe because it's a desert. You don't really got to do a lot of slipping. And maybe you step out of the aircraft, you get yourself a nice 45-second nap before you smash into the ground at like a freight train speed. I don't know, but it happened all the time. Like they'd have formations to count people, and you'd have 2 or 3 people always fall on their face, fall asleep. Because by this time, back then, Ranger School was 78 days long. And people from the regiment had already done 21 days of pre-ranger. And the really bad part about desert phase, for me at least, is they didn't even give me a patrol. They literally wrote me off as a recycle from the very beginning. I was nothing but a pack mule walking around. And then at the end of the course, they're like, well, sorry, Pop, you're going to recycle. Now, luckily, before they tell you that, they give you a meal and you get a little bit of sleep. Because I'm telling you, I would have smashed that fucker's head right open. I was so pissed. But what are you going to do? It just is what it is. So they kind of screwed up here. I get, instead of keeping me at Dugway, Utah, They box me up in all my shit, send me back to Benning, where I was there for like another 18 days, before I flew me back for the second phase of Desert Phase, second time. So we land, we get the briefing. You can't do this, you can't do that. You're still in Ranger school, blah, blah, blah. Got it. Understand. Next morning, you get up. We do PT, which was abysmal because we were just physically, mentally wrecked. And after chow, we were promptly handcuffed to lawnmowers. Now, it wasn't like a short handcuff. It was one with like the 3 or 4 inch chain. So if you had to take a piss, you could push your lawnmower to the porta pisser and then take a piss. And they give you like an MRE for lunch, and they come get you at like 3:30 in the afternoon, and then you eat chow like at 4:30. I did that one day. One fucking day. I'm like, nah. I've been in this game too long. I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm not getting chained to fucking lawn equipment. Y'all can fuck off. Again, I was not, I was still attached to Alpha Company while I was recycling. So those guys were just fucking savages. And not in a good way. So the very next morning, like, who's going on sick call? What are you going on sick call for? Like, I got a broken neck, collarbone, neck knee thingamajigger. Okay, they can't tell you can't go on sick call. So there's no supervision. Just me and 2 other guys. I guess I was in charge of them since I was an E4. Like, all right, go to the TMC. They give you the TMC number you're supposed to go to. Now, this TMC was the same one I used when I was in basic training in Sand Hill. I'm like, okay. Get in the bus, get off the bus, go in the TMZ, packed. There's like 50, 60 guys in there. Nobody can sit down, standing room only. I sign my name, go to the PX. Gut Rot Central. Come back, an hour and a half later, it's pretty much cleared out. I'm like, yeah, I signed up. This is me. And they're like, what's wrong with you? And I go in there and show them my fucked up leg, or I got a fucking sprained ankle, my knee hurts, whatever. I just wanted to get I'm not being chained to lawn equipment. I'm not fucking doing it. So we get out of the TMC. I don't have to be back to the compound until 15:30, 1600 at the latest. What do? Well, I go to the Peachtree Mall and I proceed to get me a 6-pack of double chocolate 31 flavor shakes, drink them, and then pass out in the shade at the bus stop until I woke up roughly 1, 2 in the afternoon with a sugar hangover, which I'd probably take Motrin and drink a liter of water, and then get on the goddamn bus, go back to the Ranger compound, report in. They'd put you on some bullshit detail until you eat chow, which I would eat. I did that for 15 or 16 days out of the 18 days I was recycled. So by the time I went back to Ranger school for the second go at Desert Phase, I was running on all 8 cylinders. I had caught up on my sleep. I had gained back about 10 or 12 pounds. I was about $148, $150. I got a lot of my strength back. And again, pack up your shit, get on the bird, fly back to Dugway, Utah. I get off the bird. Now I fall under a whole other different company, Charlie Company, which they used to call Christmas Company. And mainly they called it Christmas Company because they actually had standards, and they wanted you to learn, and they actually didn't give well, they gave a shit if you were healthy and okay, and nobody really fucked with you unnecessarily, and it was like a whole new world. I land, of course, the minute I get on the ground, I'm in that hot desert air, instant migraine headache, instant dehydration. This isn't my first rodeo. I know how this works. And I remember, you know, telling the RI at our patrol base, I'm like, hey, I need to go on sick call real quick. They're like, okay. No, I didn't get any static. Like, yeah, it's going up there. See those guys? They're literally like 200 yards away in a GP medium. I walk in there. They're playing poker. There's nobody in there. And I'm like, I need a fucking IV. I'm all fucked up. And they're like, you don't just walk in here and tell us you need an IV. And I'm like, I'm from the 2nd Ranger Battalion. And I tell you I need a fucking IV. I need a fucking IV. They're like, okay. Boom. 2 liters, one in each arm. 45 minutes later, good as new. Go back to my patrol base. I get the briefing, like, all right, here's your M60 positions, and here's your training table, and here's where you do your terrain maps, and it's all. We were never hit with artillery while we were planning. In fact, for that entire phase, I think we had 3 artillery attacks and 1 NBC attack while moving, between the objective and the patrol base. That's it. And, there were some casualties. I was one of them on one of the objectives, and they had to carry me for about 2 clicks. And I got a burn on my hand because while they're, put me in the litter, some guy set his fucking weapon across my hand and burned it. Because every time you fire your weapon in desert phase, at least back in the day, it was live fire. Every mission was a live fire mission. Every mission. So, like the second time I went through, they're like, okay, we're doing a live fire tonight. Make sure you guys get your 3 or 4 hours to sleep. And we don't want anybody shooting each other. In Alpha Company, we didn't get any of that. There's no fucking rest. So you're doing live fire exercises with M60 machine guns, everyone saws, M16s, and people falling asleep walking. Do you have any idea how fucking dangerous that is? It's fucking insane. So I remember when I in process in Charlie Company, I'm talking to the captain. He's like, hey, Pop, man, you got like 15, 16 major minuses. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to give you a clean slate here, but you're 2 in the hole. You need to get 2 goes in a row, or you're going to be a day 1 recycle. And I'm like, fuck. Now, luckily for me, there was a Staff Sergeant Tuatwave who came from 2nd Bat. He got PCS down there to Dugway, Utah. And every time it was my turn to, be in charge, he was always my RI. And he's like, look, man, I'm not going to hold your hand, but you're from 2nd Bat. I know you know what you're fucking doing. And if you don't royally fuck up, you're good. You and I were good. And he filled out the book. I remember he's like, we're going to give you a go, but you fucked up here and here, but it's not really, it doesn't like impact the mission. It's still a success, so you're a go. And luckily I got 2 goes in a row, and I finished fucking Ranger School. And it was absolutely soul crushing. It was. And there was a guy when I went through Ranger School the second time, Desert Phase the second time. I had already done all the missions, so I knew what was going to take place. So I was always the advanced scout. I literally was, right next to the PL, telling them what to do, and I basically held their hands. So a majority of these guys made it because some of these guys come from other units. They're lost in the sauce. It's the guys from the regiment who know that shit, you know, forwards and backwards. And there's this one guy, I don't remember his name. I just called him Frenchie. Because whenever we brought up France, he would just go on these tirades about how much he hated the fucking French and their surrender monkeys, fuck them, blah, blah, blah. So we just called him Frenchie. That's it. And I ran into him in 2004 in Iraq when he was an operator for the CIA. Apparently, he went on, he was an officer. He got promoted to captain and he got promoted to major. And then he decided to, step away from the military, dropped his resume for the CIA. They picked him up. And I was at Abu Ghraib prison. And we had a special whip me, spank me building, which I refused to go in. I didn't want to know what happened there. But apparently, Frenchie came and dropped off some people and came by the PX, which I just happened to be in because I started it. I was in the doghouse at the time. And he's just like, "You're that pop guy from Ranger School." And I'm like, "Yes, I am." He goes, "I tell all of my friends about you. You were fucking hilarious." Because I kept everyone laughing. I mean, we'd be starving to death. We'd be baking in the sun. We'd be fucked up 3 ways to Sunday. And I'd be like, it could be worse. And I literally kept that whole platoon I was attached to going. Because there were some times we were so fucking tired, we couldn't even talk to each other. We couldn't even put in a patrol base. All you had to do was take your squad and put them in a line, put down the crew serve, have the next squad walk that line, turn at an angle, and walk in and stop and put in their crew serve, and then you have another squad create the triangle. We were so tired, we just couldn't do it. Like literally, it was like everyone was high on morphine while mainlining alcohol with no sleep. That's how fucked up it was. And I kept everyone going by joking through the whole thing. "Oh, we're so fucked up. Oh my God, you guys are walking around like you're high. Ah." Oh, man. But sometimes I'm just doing the same shit I'm doing here, keeping people alive and keep people moving forward with comedy. All right, there's 2 pages of this. I covered probably 60% of it. I'll forget half of it in about an hour or so, but let's see. We got just 7 minutes left. Let's see what we got here. Anything jump out at me? That's a funny story. Oh, we talked about live fire exercise. Pilot recovery. Let's see. Okay. Well, one of the missions in Desert Phase was a pilot recovery. So you're doing you basically are. It's like a patrol, and they give you like a box, which is usually 4 grids you have to search to find the down pilot. And the first time I did it, when I was in Alpha Company, they were raging dicks about the whole thing. Made it incredibly painful and tedious. And that guy was an RI for Alpha Company. Well, it just so happens we get the same mission the second time I go through. It's the same RI as a down pilot. Now, I would like to say it went smoothly. Did we succeed in the mission? Yes. Did we put up with any of his bullshit? Because the first time he was like thrashing about, acting like he had a head injury. No, I literally had already briefed all of the team leaders and the PL and platoon sergeant exactly what this fucker was going to do. So we find the guy. He starts doing the play acting thing, gets dogpiled, choked out, tied up, and we brought him back on a pole like a dead deer. And we carried his ass all the way back. And boy, was he fucking pissed. And did I care? Not in the slightest. Everyone got to go. RI got his ass kicked, which I think he deserved. I hope to God I never run into any of those RIs who were running Alpha Company back when I was going through there, because some of those guys were very unprofessional and I would say psychologically abusive. And I'm not saying that like a pussy. I'm just saying some of that shit was, there was no training value to it. What they did was just to make you fucking suffer. And that's Ranger School for you. All right, let's check some comments, and then we'll call it a night, gentlemen. Whew. We still have 500 people. Remember, give me some likes there on YouTube so it makes it through the algorithm. God damn it. We got Aaron Sharbarth, Motrin, and a soft cast. It was last March before grad. Yep. Yeah, lots of guys on that last road march were walking wounded, man. Let's see. I hope you guys like the stories. Hopefully they're amusing and bring some joy to you. It's that military humor that I want to laugh at. It is. Listen, man, you got to laugh, bro. Dirt digger, evil pop. Assassin of the Gray. Oh, these stories are awesome for certain. Share them with other veterans, man. Okay? If you got a friend of yours who's a vet, even if he's not going through hard times, share the stories with them, man. All right. I also want to let you guys know we're not going to have a stream on Tuesday. We're taking the night off, mainly because I'm going to start drinking early. You know, my check liver light went on a couple years back, so I've been taking it easy, but I think I'm going to tie one on for New Year's Eve. That's just how it's going to go. And Blankets wants to know why he disliked the French. I have no idea. He just hated them, man, and it was hilarious. He would go on these like 10-minute tirades. All right, let's check MGTOW here. Oh my God, please don't do that one. Schleprock dick bag, yep. Mosquito larva, yep. Being an evil SOB, do you think they had a second team with nods that were able to watch Pop grab a bunch of? No, no. They would have fucking hammered me if they caught me. And listen, man, you don't understand how hungry you get. It is especially when they cut your calories down to like 1,200 to 1,000 a day, and they fucking eat fast food in front of you, fucking dicks. I did into the barracks hogging story. No, this is Ranger School stories, bro. Migto Mando, what phase was the Pringles can? Come on, man. That was after Ranger School. And the Navy, he was an Anglico Navy guy named Spicer. And I told him, you get me a major minus, and I'm gonna fucking mail you a can of shit. And he got me a major minus because he fell asleep. So guess what? He got a Pringles can full of shit. uh, let's see. All right, let's check. And we got people cycling out on YouTube. All right, gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed the stories. We got a $5 super chat from 9NDA3. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Pop. I'm sick since the beginning of holidays because some kind of virus is spreading through Europe. Well, don't die on me. You'll be fine. Get yourself some ivermectin. The shit works. I had a chest cold 3 or 4 weeks back. I had to miss a show over it. I put myself on ivermectin. Now, normally a chest cold will take 12 to 14 days to work its way through. I was pretty much over it in 4 days, and then it took another 5 or 6 days for it to clear out. So I cut it down by about a third using ivermectin. All right. All right, gentlemen. Unfuck your life. Oh, we got one here. Hang on. Alucard, your dogman girlfriend is calling and she wants you to sing. Come on, man. I don't have that hooked up here on the upstairs computer. We're in the sword room here. And for those of you that don't know the story of the sword room that you're seeing behind me, is that is a professional kickboxing belt I won years ago. And all of these swords here I purchased while I was on Ambien. And this samurai sword here was actually an NCO sword that was on the Bataan Death March. I keep it. I'm trying to donate it to some museums and whatnot. But no one will take it, so I'm going to keep it for now. All right, gentlemen. I think we are a go at this station. Again, there will be no stream this Tuesday. So let everyone know, no stream this Tuesday. I will talk to you guys later. You guys take it easy. Out.